and sit down.
Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible, starting with the great folks here at the Veteran Radio Syndicate. Also, we can't forget our show sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, Sheepdog Response, and of course, Veteran Outdoors. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Stu and the Nunn, episode 190, and obviously that is another intro, Toby, I need to update as you're muted, yeah. As it mentioned our old medium, our own outlet that was from like over a year ago, I think. I obviously haven't played that one in a while.
I was kind of prepared, and I already prepped everyone that's sitting here in the Southern studio that there was going to be a sexy intro tonight. Instead, you brought back some retro intro that was kind of metro.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I could have brought on sexy. You didn't tell me you wanted sexy intro. I sure
I always want the sexy intro. Like, true story. I was getting my hair did the other day and getting my geometry straight. I don't know if you noticed, I brought the Colonel Sanders back.
Yes.
But I'm up in the barber shop, getting a little whiskey. It might have been 8:15 in the morning. Who knows? But
it's a no judgment zone. We're not
none in there, and boom, like they were actually listening to the Joe Rogan Experience. And on the dude's subscription, we come up next. And after the JRE got done, boom, all I hear is like the sexy intro music just doing. And I was like, that's my like, of course, they didn't realize like I'm actually that guy. It was a good time.
They were rolling right to our show. They were
keep the sexy intro.
Okay.
Lose the old Metro intro.
Yeah, I need to update all of them, right? Because some of those sponsors aren't our sponsors anymore. Not like the ones we have, Enlisted 9 Fight Company and Veteran Outdoors. As you see, I'm sporting my my current Veteran Outdoors shirt. And talking about retro, let's see, I got to figure out which side it's on here. My old school, whatever it is, Veteran Outdoors hat. Right? This is one of my favorites. This black one's one of my favorites, and I don't know if there's any of these left.
No, that was a dying breed.
Yeah, that is one of my favorites. And it's a collector's item. If anyone wants to make a bid on it, we'll see what we can work out. I don't know if it's for sale though.
The old eBay. Let's see how the Richardson hats do on eBay.
Yeah, but hey, everyone, welcome. Excuse me, a little cough. I haven't been drinking Corona, so it ain't that. It is January 30th, the last Thursday show of January 2020. We have blown through 2020 already, episode 190, and we are rocking it here tonight. A lot of things going on. We'll cover that later on in the show after we have our awesome guests on tonight. But there's a little thing, some stuff going on in DC. There's some stuff going on in China. Or China, could be say it that way. Stuff going on everywhere, which, as we know, anyone that watches and listens to our show regularly knows that we just wait till Thursday to come up with all our content because it changes within 24-hour news cycles. And after this week's over, though, I gotta say, I'm almost scared to think or ask about what could possibly next week bring once this week's over.
Beer drinking Saturday. It's gonna bring beer drinking Saturday. But
okay, all right, there we go.
We're gonna wrap up a bunch of shenanigans this week, and we're just gonna get right into like back to life of the normal bliss-filled milk and honey America that we're in.
All right,
but hey, we have got a great guest tonight. So we've been rotating back and forth. Be it a Ranger, be it an SF guy. And it's been about a solid month since we've had a Navy SEAL on.
You say that sarcastically.
No, It's been about a month.
January,
so it's time.
January
It is time. So we got a really cool cat on tonight, Ray Cash Care. He is a team leading expert. He's part of the LTD, and we're excited to talk about that. But Ray Cash Care is not just a SEAL, but he's a unique level of SEAL, and we're going to talk about this because this is one of the things about the SEAL teams and NSW, Naval Special Warfare, that absolutely fascinates me, and that's like the SEAL delivery systems and how this actually goes down. Because this is most people don't think of this. They think of some cool guy movie that Charlie Sheen was in back in the day, and they don't realize all the things that happen that go into what actually accomplish these kind of missions. When they talk about sea, air, and land, people don't actually realize what that means in terms of putting warfighters to target. So I'm excited to meet him. But Ray is a great guy. He's our guest tonight. He is living up to all SEAL things. He's coming on. He's got big muscles, great tats, hair product.
He's got good hair. He's got good hair.
The American flag in the background. And yeah, that's right. Look at him looking good. And so
can I say real quick, Toby? Can I say real quick?
That's not. You got the trident. He's got the trident in the back there.
Yeah.
I like it. So without further ado,
there we go.
Cash Care, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks guys for that hell of an intro, and you were right on point. The hair gel's in, muscles are flexing, and credit for the trident. Good attention to detail, guys.
That was You can just barely make it out there. That was.
Eyes.
You got the LASIK there.
Canadian.
I can spin around the office and show you. Oh my goodness, I got.
Oh, let's see it.
See the I love me wall. There's a tomahawk there.
Wait, go back. Was that a tomahawk or a hatchet?
That was a hatchet. That's for the current thing I'm doing with Bedros Keuilian. That's one of the things we have. There's a couple of my blood certificates, my paddle. I've got some NFL football helmets and college helmets and signatures, and everybody wants to hang out with the Navy SEAL. I guess yours is bigger.
He's heard that before.
It might not be bigger, but I have a tomahawk. I don't have a hatchet.
Nice.
I served with the 23rd Infantry. We're the Tomahawks. You got to have a tomahawk on you at all times.
All right.
Epic. Thank you guys for the warm welcome.
Yeah. Yes. I want to say real quick, Toby. I want to interject. I'm glad you used the movie reference of Charlie Sheen and not Demi Moore. I would have had to bleep you out if you would have done Demi Moore.
We haven't even talked about language, so let's watch where we go with that. Charlie. He came to
the good news is
came to a reunion, lasted about 20 minutes, had beers thrown on her, was spit on, and had to leave abruptly. So I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Wow.
Bandana and muscle.
Man, I bet I'd have to IMDb that to see when because that was probably a solid 20 years ago. I bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was pre-Kutcher. That was pre-baby Robin.
That was pre-Kutcher. Yeah, Kutcher. God bless him.
1997. That movie came out.
Uh-oh.
All right. So hey, Ray, let's rewind real quick since we're going back in the day. Talk to us about your inspiration to follow, get into service, and then your inspiration to serve with the teams. Yeah. And then we're going to get into service with the teams and then what you're doing now. So why don't you take us back to that time where you joined the old Navy there at the Great Lakes?
I wish it was inspiration. I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but I joined the Navy because horrible childhood. Father was murdered when I was 11. Didn't have a relationship with my mother. Constantly told I was nothing. I had two choices. I was pretty much going to jail, or I decided to try to get out of that, evade that, and go to the military service. Go to the military. I took the ASVAB. I'm pretty. I'm not smart, and I went around. Originally, my first choice was going to be the Air Force. I heard Air Force. I didn't even know anything about the Navy SEALs. And they literally said, "You can't do anything for us." I said, "Okay, well, I'll move on down." And I had a pecking order. It was Navy, and then it was going to be the the Marines and then Army. No offense to the Army. And when I went into the Navy, I was talking to him. Yeah, and there was a pamphlet right there about these Navy SEALs. It's like, what the hell is this? And the guy looked at me and says, oh, this is the elite of the elite. And I was like, yes. But to backtrack, growing up, I had a rough childhood. I always knew I was destined to do more. There was like this calling that I couldn't figure out. And like literally the minute I walked in there and I grabbed that pamphlet, I explained these guys were like superheroes and they do this. And first thing I said was, how tall do they have to be? Because I'm only 5'7", because they all looked huge. And he's like, no, you think you have the right stuff? And I was like, I do. He told me, go home and think about it. And he did this to me. He goes, because, not a lot of people make it. And he gave me that look. So I was like, wow, you're a shitty salesman, because he actually, told me I wasn't going to make it just by the look, which fueled the fire more. Went home, told everybody that this is what I wanted to do. And they all gave me this. And return, that made me want to do this. And, that was my fuel. I had to take the ASVAB test, true story, 3 times. Because if a train's going 90 miles an hour east and one's going 80 miles an hour west, when are they going to hit? I don't know. I'd never been on a train. I had to figure it out, bio. And that was my inspiration. My inspiration, long story short, was all the negativity in my life of people telling me I couldn't do it, which I think gave me the internal fortitude and power to actually do it. So don't let anybody, more of a story, don't let anybody tell you can't do anything.
I appreciate the fact you just talked about being 5'7", because yours truly is all of 5'7". And like same thing, different, but like I saw the cardboard cutout of an Airborne Ranger coming out of the swamp in Florida, the respirator, all camoed up. And I was like, talk about that guy. And the same thing, dude looked at me at my like 140. I don't even think I was 140. I was probably like 132 and, 5'7", and just like giggled and was like, yeah. Let me talk to you about MI. But, like, I love it, man. That's awesome. It's that fuel, that fire to know, like, only as little dudes, Troy, you probably don't appreciate this, like that fuel, like, to rise up and to carry heavier loads and to like go further and work harder and move faster. Dude, it's strong. And I love it. Like I definitely feel like you and I have a kinship on that.
Almost a Napoleon kinship. I'm just saying.
Kill them all.
Easy, Tiger.
God bless Napoleon. I liked his style. He got things done the way he wanted. But yeah, that's what it's about. It's just, and I've kind of just used that whole mindset. I created the Conquer mindset to, conquer anything I set my mind to. And that's what I tell people, so many people use the word can't. I tell people, take off that apostrophe and T and you got can, and you can do it. I'm living proof.
And you've done. So, go ahead, Toby. Sorry.
No, so like, you went in. Did you go straight to Naval Special Warfare, or did you like take an MOS like?
I was a apprentice
and then volunteer.
I literally qualified to be a corpsman, or literally they said something like some type of barber. That's the only thing I qualified for. So I was like, medical, or like it was something in like, the hair cuttery world. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. So I said, screw that. I don't want to do either of those. And I took it's called Seaman Apprentice, where you go undesignated, became a boatswain mate. Went to like a school for that. I didn't go to an A school. And when I ended up getting, it's called neutral duty. I wasn't on sea duty. I wasn't on shore duty. No one knew what the hell it was. I went out on, it's called a 72-foot torpedo retriever, and we hand cranked torpedoes back in. And usually a crew was of 9 people. Ours was of 4, because myself and another guy I joined with, named Mike Holmes, was a big guy, short and stocky. We just outworked everybody, and we used the same principles that like we use now. And it was, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're fired. And all we did, the regular Navy, this is what I need to tell guys. The regular Navy is the easiest thing in the world to do, because all you got to do is keep your uniforms. It's Forrest Gump. do whatever you tell me and keep your shit squared away and, look presentable. And it's that easy. And, I really excelled at that. It took me about 3 years to get the buds. And I'm glad it took me 3 years. I'm glad I had to overcome the adversity, self teach myself after the second time of failing the ASVAB. I actually had to ask for some external help. My boss let me go to some courses, saw that I was putting in the work and the effort. And, I literally, true story, when I ended up standing in front of a YN1 yeoman named Petty Officer Coughlin, third time, he goes, "How do you think I do?" I'm standing like at attention. I'm an E1. I don't know any better. And I said, "I pray to God I didn't, I threw some choice words in there. I didn't fail again." And he goes, "You didn't, you passed." And to this day, I still keep in touch with him. He will not tell me what my score was. He goes, "Dude, you passed. Who cares?" I think I probably squeaked by, but you know what? He said, and that I'll never forget the words. He says, "Listen, you did it. Now go become a Navy SEAL." And I did. And not only did I become a Navy SEAL, I started with my class and I ended with my class. 138 of us started, 16 original graduated. We had some rollbacks, but I was doing the express plan, man, straight on through.
Oh, that's that is something, to walk in, almost walk into the Navy SEALs. Like you said, you kind of went in and said, "I'll do whatever the good of the Navy wants," right? I'll do. What do you want me to do? Scrub this, pull back a torpedo, do whatever. It's obviously you have a capability to stay focused on your mission, not let the mind games happen, not let a gut check get to you, and feel sorry for yourself and stuff. And I would imagine through some of the things you've done since then, not only through the SEALs, but since then, that is what's carried you on to some of the programs you're doing today and some of the efforts that you're carrying on today. It sounds like it's some of those same skills and characteristics, either that you just naturally learned, adopted, or just ingrained into you as a youth. I mean, anything like that you can think of that what gave you that drive that most people just
Yeah,
wouldn't have?
I will. Yeah. Everything I do, keep it simple, stupid, the acronyms we use in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I've got acronyms for everything. And I believe that everything happens in fours. There's 4 pillars of success. We'll talk about that. I live by 4 F bombs. And literally, my motto in life is team. TEAM. And this is it. It's team me right now, but I surround myself with the best team, and it's this. T stands for trust. You got to trust in yourself and trust in your brothers. E is effort. You got to put, I don't know what the language, you got to put the fuck out. I'm sorry, guys. Start to finish, finish to start. You got to roll up your sleeves and get dirty. Attitude. This is what I'll tell you. I have never been the best at anything in my life, but I get looked at by some of the best people on the planet. It's because I have a good attitude. Even when you kick me and I'm down, it's like, hey, you know what? I get up every morning like I won the lottery. Because every day that you're alive, it's what I tell people. Instead of going, you got, this is what I explain people with the attitude. Each one of us has 24 hours to do whatever we want to do with each day. We don't know how many of those 24 hours we have. I know that I get about 6 hours of sleep. So my 24 minus 6, after that, that is my time to shine. And my motto is get up. I always say this to myself every day: be great today, be a bitch tomorrow. That's my life motto. I get up, maximum output, workforce, go to sleep. And then when I think I'm going to have to get up and be a bitch, I get up and repeat. That's all I do. And then the M is mission. Most people think that the mission is money. It's not money. The mission are your core values, what you stand for. You've got to have a mission. You've got to have an end game. And my end game is, my goal, my core values are be better today than I was yesterday. That's it. I keep it that simple. And it works.
Yeah, yeah. And as that, I know you do motivational speaking, and you do, you talk to folks. I'm assuming young people, corporate people, things like that. Are these the same principles and the same, easy to remember acronyms and basic concepts? Do you kind of keep it at that level?
I do. It's funny is, there's a lot of people out there doing what I do. I just dumb it down. I keep it the bare minimum. Sometimes, like I said, keep it simple, stupid. People like, with the LTD that we'll talk about, 4 pillars of success: teamwork, problem solving, leadership, communication. That's it. If you want to be successful in life, but with business, it's that. We'll talk about the 4 F bombs and then all we do is, from the battlefield to the business field to the home field, I make sure that you have to apply these, not to just one aspect of your life. You have to have, I tell people, we're all coaches, we're all leaders, we all have to communicate. And, if you're a father or a brother, you're in a relationship, got kids. I mean, every one of us has these traits. We're all coaches of life. And people, it just frustrates me because people these days just are like, I hear it all the time, and I hear it from everybody. They're like, leadership is always the problem, and leadership is always the solution. I hear it from everybody. Jason Redman and I argue about it. It's not leadership, it's communication. Even Helen Keller figured out the way to communicate. I mean, communication is the fundamentals of everything we do. And if you don't communicate with yourself and others, you're not going to be successful. And that's what I've learned how to do, is communicate with other people at the corporate level, at the blue collar level, and at the level, a poor Irish kid level. I just make it work. That's all I do.
Yeah, I mean, leadership, by definition, is the art of influencing a person or a unit to accomplish a task by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. And to do that, you obviously have to communicate purpose, you have to communicate the direction, and how you communicate it must be motivating. So like, I think, you're onto something. I kind of want to like slide back a little bit, because this is a personal fascination for me. We're totally going to get into the LTD stuff.
Yeah, no
But like I think we have a wonderful opportunity to talk about something really fast that not everyone kind of gets a window into this. And I'm the reason I'm smiling is because you held a job within the Naval Special Forces that's kind of unique. Mm-hmm. And typically when people think about Navy SEALs, like we could go in reference, inject whatever movie du jour that you want to talk about. Everyone's got like, be it the old, if you're our age, you're thinking about like Charlie Sheen. If you're a little bit older, you're thinking about that movie that we'll not reference later. Or you're thinking about stuff like American Sniper. You're thinking about and I'm drawing a blank on it right now, the greatest movie ever made by Navy SEALs. Oh, come on.
Lone Survivor. Hours.
No, not, say the last one.
13 Hours.
No, the actual movie made by Navy SEALs.
You're talking about
come on.
Act of
Valor.
Act of Valor.
Yeah. All right. It took me a second. You just listed off some great movies. And we're going to get into a movie involving some great Navy SEALs called Captain Phillips, that you were, and so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about what you did in the team, or one of the things that you did in the teams, because people have no idea the intensity and what a Navy SEAL goes through. People have this vision, like they understand, like Hell Week, Buds, SQT, that's suck fest, right?
Yeah.
And they understand, like, hey, I'm gonna go out for this little swim. Like I remember a couple years ago, I was doing something with Team 3, on a ceremonial aspect, and like I go out in the morning. I was staying at the Hotel Del there, and I'm like drinking my coffee, and I'm sitting out looking at the water, and I see like this frothing thing going by, and in my mind I'm like, oh look, cool, like bait fish, like there's some fish out there feeding. And then I see a safety boat coming. I'm like, oh crap, like there's some dudes in the water right there, like, and I'm witnessing like some dudes out for a little morning swim. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like going through the quarter deck, walking onto the grinder, and now there's like dudes coming out of the water onto the sand, coming in to change out. And I realized, like, oh, those are the dudes. Well, I was drinking coffee and having my croissant that were like frothing up the water right there. And I'm like, okay, like, and I swam in high school. I put a little water, like I got a little water in me. I'm Canadian, and I'm like, like that's impressive. But it wasn't until like I started looking further, as an Army infantry guy, like the delivery to the battlefield is important to us. Mm-hmm. You can get into a fight in any bar, arguing over what's better, air assault, airborne, mechanized, like good old LPC, like whatever it is, you can get yourself in a scrap easily on the delivery of yourself to the battlefield. Everyone forgets, like, the battlefield's the battlefield. But we all argue about this delivery system. Y'all have some very unique delivery systems. Everyone understands, like, you can jump out of a perfectly good airplane, helicopter, whatever. You can like jump on a Zodiac and you can crank the throttle to the stop and get that little 40 horse of the rib core getting, like there's a lot of things that you can do. There's some really cool boat videos, when you see like the boat teams like with the minigun shredding some
Oh,
shit up like an act of valor. There's some blue vein throbber material all up in there.
oh yeah.
But one thing that no one ever talks about is the fact that an assault element will swim out of a submerged vehicle, we'll call it a submarine, and get into another submerged vehicle, which is a submarine, but not a comfortable one.
No.
Like I'm talking like a North Korean, uncomfortable, no light, barely able to navigate, limited steering, lowest bidder built American military equipment with a guy, maybe a swim buddy, and that delivery system takes an element and then parks.
Yep.
And like I got to tell you, I have lost mine on a road march. As an infantry guy, you walk for days, you're everywhere. And I can think of being in a training environment, or I can think of being like in Korea doing a Manchu or a March or Die. Like inside my mind, like I've lost myself. And when I got done with that road march, I had to have a strong look in the mirror, talk to myself, and be like, "You need to never think those shit again," right? And like, I can't imagine. And this is why I'm so excited to talk about this. People have no idea discipline, the mental strength, and that's what I think makes you uniquely qualified to talk about some of the things we're going to talk about here in a little bit, because this SEAL delivery system, these SDV teams, this is not just a guy that and you did yourself a disservice. You talked about struggling with tests and stuff like that, but you clearly have something that the average human being do not have, because to sit in the dark in a wetsuit under respiration for extended periods of time, I'm not talking like 3 or 4 minutes. You want to watch like a private in the Army lose his shit, like go watch like a gas chamber. Like you got to do a gas chamber, I don't know, like annually, right? You see a guy put a pro mask on, all of a sudden he's got brake seal on a pro mask, and you watch like what you thought was like a moderate male figure into like a slobbering, snot-filled mess, and like whimpering for like whatever. I'm talking about in the dark, under limited navigation for extended periods of time in your mind. Like this is a level of personal discipline. This is a level of emotional discipline. This is like, and people don't even understand that this actually happens.
So let's get into that
job.
Yeah. So right. How, I mean, Toby went very detailed, probably more than you knew. He taught me a lot right there. But was that kind of how it was, and just what was it like to do that kind of job, and not only in that vehicle system, but any others that you did? What was it to do such a thing?
Well, the water is an unforgiving element. I've been to some of the nastiest courses. I've been to the comp swimmer course, which is 5,000 meter turtlebacks, while the Germans are trying to run you over, and you have to do an emergency descent and get below with just a dragger on. But with the SDV, the SEAL delivery vehicles, and this is unclassed, they are a 6-man unit, 2 in the front, 4 in the back. You also, depending on size, you've got full kit on, and you've got to stuff the 2 rucksacks behind the pilot and the navigator up front, and then we've got 4 rucks, and you know as well as I do, Army, how big they can be. Weapons, everything's waterproof. So pretty much you're jammed in there like this, pretty much sitting like this. For me, one of my longest dives I did in the winter, just diving alone. That's not the time that it took us to fill up the dry deck shelter, do everything that we had to do where we launched from the submarine, was 10 hours and 48 minutes. and it was cold, like as in snowing cold. We're not using dry suits; we're using wetsuits. We started getting into using some heated suits, but we were having some issues with them burning us. And it gets to the point mentally where you're just like, screw it. I'd rather just freeze than end up burning, because it's very uncomfortable. But as far as the mindset, when it comes to it, you have your brothers. The only form that when we first started doing this, they've gotten a lot more technological. But before we could only hear what the front was saying, and then we will respond by hitting a light. And if you hit it 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, it meant something. Yes, no, up, or up 5 feet because of your ears, or 4 was emergency. That's the only communication we had. So nowadays they've got games in the back and stuff to keep you occupied. It's like sitting in a plane. But back in the day, I mean, I remember, as you have to switch on rigs, you would breathe open circuit, and as you would get close, because obviously open circuit puts off bubbles. That's not very technical. That's not very tactical. But as we would start approaching our target, we would switch over. I used to just take a rubber band and put it over my mask and put it on my mouthpiece, and I would just fall asleep. Now, falling asleep wasn't the issue. It was when you woke up and your body core temperature dropped, and your lieutenant was behind you, and you were shaking, so profusely that he's trying to, we have signs where we communicate. And Lily, all I'm doing is giving them this, and an LT doesn't want to hear that from an E4. But lesson learned. I fell asleep one time, and I wasn't allowed to do it again. But as far as the mindset, I think just knowing, at least for me, it was knowing who was in that vehicle with me, going through the pain. None of us, and that I'm trying to think of when we were in that boat, were the same Buds crew, but I know we all experienced the same amount of hell. And I don't know, it actually calms me when I know that my brothers beside me are just as miserable as I am. It's just like, you just look at them, underwater, you can see their eyes barely, and they're just like, you can't hurt me, and every time we do something, whenever you're doubting yourself, you have to do it for a greater good. We're doing it for our country,
I gotta ask you, Ray, real quick. I want and if you can't answer this, that's fine for any kind of OPSEC reasons. But when you did that, when you delivered a team and you were kind of offshore, I guess, or something, and kind of waiting, did you still have comms with them? Were you kind of their backup, or are you able to even be a QRF, or if they got in trouble or something, you're just there waiting for them to show back up and knock on the door?
How it work? I've done both positions. I've been the ones that have parked the boat and sat there. Sometimes we will just drop them off. They'll go do the op. We'll go back to the sub and come back and get them a couple days. Depends. Or sometimes, depending on what type of, if it's something like a direct action, something that's quicker, they have to do a quick placement, we'll wait for them. But the only way that we could make comms with them is you have to actually, and this isn't classified as, you put up an antenna and you can get a hold of them that way. But that's for time. We have phase lines.
Right.
Other than that, we have no freaking clue what they're doing. They're on, and that's 4 guys. That's what's so crazy about it. We don't have a platoon. Stealth is our key. We have a sniper, we have a machine gunist, we have a medic, and obviously we have the officer that does that. And our medic is usually our point man, which was ridiculous. But you have to work with what you got. We're all medically qualified, but I was I was a 60 gunner before we switched to the saw. I was taking point at times. It's just, you do whatever you have to get the mission done. It wasn't sexy like it is in the movies. I mean, shit happens, and we just max flex. We roll with the punches. Whatever you throw at us, we'll throw back twice as hard. That's what we do.
Yeah. So in our chat room, we have, Aaron Luling, has kind of brought something up. He's like, the system of trust, right, was developed, and like, how do you transition this, to the real world? And, one of the things, like, I remember witnessing and, and kind of experiencing, only at a cursory level, so I don't want anyone to misunderstand. I'm not like saying I did this, but I experienced this, the sitting in the surf with locked arms, right, with the cold water, that's not just to see what you'll endure, Like
Yes.
that is a trust exercise. That's a
Yes.
trust in your brother, that when you lock arms with someone, that no matter how crappy it gets, that person is just going to stay there with you. No matter how miserable they are, no matter how much it sucks. And I don't know what it is, but for Southern California, that part of the Pacific Ocean off of Coronado is an extremely wicked part of cold that makes
Yes.
zero sense. You know, like you go any other beach in the world, and like, or I mean, any other beach in that area, and people are surfing. You know, you got like Point Break movie in your mind. You're like Keanu, I caught my first tube. Like, but you go to that Coronado and you get in that little part of the Pacific and you
Yep.
lock arms with someone, and you're sitting in that surf. It is a different sensation of suck.
It
And
is.
like that is not an exercise of what you will endure. That is an exercise in trust.
It
And you
is.
know, like what Aaron's bringing up is like how do you like bring that to the civilian world? That is a very tough thing. It and the reason why I want to bring this up is because you're with LTD, all right? So I want you to talk about LTD, because this is one of the things that LTD, not this exercise, or but you do hands-on exercises with LTD to try and build this trust within the civilian world, because this is a very unique way that we have experienced this suck, and that trust of locking arms with our brothers and sisters to know, like, yes, no matter
Yes.
how bad it is, I will always be with you.
That is actually one of the first drills that we do at the LTD project. I use it as a communication drill. But what I explain to people is, and what surf torture is meant to do is it causes madness. And what it does is, they say this, and it took me a while to understand it, but the silence is deafening. So all you're listening to is the ocean, and you know, like the waves, right? They have you not look at them and laying back. You know it's coming. You know you're getting ready to get your ass kicked, and the only thing that you have is you have to keep that bond lock. You know, you can't let guys go, and that's what we do. But they do it for hours and hours, and it's just like you literally. It's almost like waterboarding, and watch what I say, but you
It
are
is.
just getting your ass handed to you over and over and over. They don't want you to talk, and it's a time for reflection. And you know what I do with the drills is that's where you have to feed off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. You know, they make you do get up drills, sit ups. If someone's not as strong as you got to pull them up. Case in point with LTD, depending on what the client wants, we can do physical activity. But if they don't, this is something that I do, and I explain about the bond and how we talked about communication earlier. I will give a company and I will bet them any amount of money. If I get paid $10,000, I'll tell you right now, I'll bet you $10,000. Give me 20 of your best employees, 20 of your smartest employees. Roger that. I will give them 5 words, all single syllable words, one double syllable word. I'll give the CEO of that company a piece of paper, 1 shot, 1 kill. He has to whisper it while arms are locked. He has to whisper it to the person to the side of him. So he whispers it to their right ear. Make sure they can hear it. Once they hear it, they have to then relay the message. After they relay the message, they turn around and they write it down. This is what I'll tell you. It usually doesn't get past the second or third person because people don't really know how to listen and communicate. They just hear what's going on, and then what they do is in their mind, they formulate their own response. And that's what Buds does. It teaches us to block out the noise, block out those waves, because when someone gives me that, they tell me that, listen, your job's at stake, your life's at stake, your wife's, whatever it is, I'm going to tell you 5 words. And then here's the ass kicker. I literally say, you know what? 5 words is too much. Pick a word you don't want. Everybody takes out the double syllable, which is the easiest and most recognizable one to remember. So they have 4 single syllable words. It usually doesn't get past the third person. And then what happens is we go back. I explain the story about Buds, how we do this, how do we practice, how do we get better? Well, it's easy. You just got to spend more time in the surf. You got to do this over and over and over again. Another case in point, I'll take an electrical charge. If we all lock arms, the 3 of us, and you're holding an electrical charge, and someone zaps me with a clacker, what's going to happen to the 3 of us? Are we going to experience that charge? Yes. Right? Well, guess what happens if you break that link, if you have that weakness, if you have that moment of doubt, if you have that moment of unclarity? Guess what? That electrical charge isn't going to go through everybody because you decided you didn't want to go through that pain like with the rest of your team and or your boat crew. That's noticed. It's a mental notice taken, and then we move on. The thing is when they do the drill to you, they don't even shock you. They just mess with you to see who's going to let go. We'll always let go. But the true
Those
warriors,
slimy bastards.
say, we'll do this shit together. And luckily, I was one of the guys that sat there because you're in the water. They're like, you're going to electrocute. But when you take sleep deprivation, no food, no this, no that, you're cold, you're tired, you're hungry. The mind, which I call that mind, that voice, that inner bitch voice that you hear, you've got to learn how to kill it. I always tell people, kill the inner bitch, unleash the warrior. That's the only way you can be successful in all your battlefields of life.
So you partnered on LTD. So talk to us about that partnership and talk to us about how you present your overall package to the corporate world.
So LTD stands for Leadership Team Development Training. I teamed up with Steve Eckert, a Marine. Don't hold that against him. He's also a 7-figure entrepreneur, and we teamed up. There's 3 of us with Bedros Keuilian. Bedros Keuilian is an empire builder, the founder of Fit Body Boot Camp. He has like 500 gyms, and the list goes on and on. He's a successful guy. True story, we met at a speaking engagement. Myself, him, and Jason Redmond met him December 5th, 2018. We met, and he said, hey, I want you to listen to the last 5 minutes of my speech, and this is how I made an impact. And I will talk about impressing versus impact. He goes, I want you to listen to it because I think it's really going to resonate with you. Obviously, I was one of the opening acts. Him and Jason were the bigger acts. And when he gets off stage, I'm looking right at him. I'm side stage in a 3-piece suit, and I'm pissing in a bottle. And he gets off the stage, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? And I just close the top up. I don't even put him away. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He goes, there's a bathroom like 20 feet away. I'm like, yeah, I know. But you told me to listen to what you had to say for the last 5 minutes. Imagine if you would have got off that stage. Because when you're on stage, you can find somebody in the crowd. You can. You may have been looking for me. And then if you didn't see me when I got off, I would have already lost your respect. So he goes, dude, you gained my respect. Put your junk away. I did. I washed my hands. And he had to go out and have a drink with him that night. And we did a stunt, man, which is snort the salt, drink the tequila, rub the lemon in your eye. We had about 6 of those. And we never looked back. And now we've teamed up. And what we're doing is we're just working with companies, teams, groups on the 4 pillars of success, which we talked about: teamwork, problem solving, leadership, communication. And how we do it is we use classroom application followed by hands-on instruction. Whether it's physical or non-physical, we can do it. We are not graph boards and statistics. We are up close, in your face. We are in the business of calling you out, call people out on their core values. We give statistics on, average person comes into work, puts out 45% effort of their 100% capacity. I actually have a drill where I can cut that. I call it Thanos. I cut the workforce in half and tell them, listen, guys, double your workload. You're still not working 100%. You'll get a raise and the boss makes more money. So we do things like that. And then we focus on, which is my trademark, and a lot of other people are using it now. It's my 4 F-bombs: family, fitness, finance, and faith. You want to be successful, whatever it is you're doing, you've got to learn how to conquer them. And that's where I came up with that whole conquer mindset. It all kind of coincides with each other, And the conquer mindset that falls under LTD is just set. We've shot a gun before, right? Raise your hand. Yeah, I think we have. Yeah, thank you. 7 points of performance, right? 7 points of performance. If you want to shoot a gun, grip, stance, follow through, breathing, right, trigger control. If you do everything right, once that round leaves that chamber, and we know the trajectory of a bullet, does it go straight? It goes up, back down. There's art, right? We know this. My goal is I'm going to have you hitting paper. Are you going to be expert every shot? No. But if you keep applying those 7 points of performance, the conquer mindset, the last one is repetition every damn day. First one up, last one to bend. Colonel Hal Moore, that was his motto. First one on the battlefield, last one off the battlefield. Every damn time. That's I I use that all the time. Be Colonel Hal Moore. And nothing but respect for that man and what he did. And the thing is you will get better if you apply those 7 points of performance. Each letter stands for something. It will make you the king or the queen of whatever it is you're doing with your family, fitness, finance, and faith. And faith is not, and I'm a religious man, but I don't talk about religion. The faith, the ability to believe in yourself. So I have drills. I teach people, I program people how to be successful, how to be awesome, how to be better. And people go, you can't program people to do things. I'll have you humor me. Ready? Both of you. Do this together. What do you do before you cross the street? What do you do?
Well,
hopefully
like I was taught as a very small child, I look both ways.
You look both ways.
Sometimes twice.
That's right. And your parents taught you that an oven was hot. If they put your hand on the oven and burned your hand, we're going to call social services. They taught you repetitive, hot, hot, hot. All I do with that life motto, with getting up and telling you that you're awesome or this, my daughter, she's 11 years old. Every morning she gets up, I'm a champion, I'm a winner. Who in the hell wants to have their kids or get up and say, hey, I'm going to do okay today? Who wants that? And that's what a lot of people do today. They get up and they go, you know what? I'm going to put my blinders on. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to sit. I'm going to get on Instagram for 2 hours when the boss isn't looking. I'm going to just do my job. When someone walks by, I'm going to pull my chest out and I'm going to punch in my time clock and I'm going to leave and I'm going to collect my check. And that is bullshit. You've got to have purpose. You got to have passion. That's what I'm trying to help people get back. Just because I was wronged doesn't mean you can't make wrongs right. I go around trying to make people right.
Man, I absolutely love that. I love it all. This is so we got some people in the chat room asking some questions.
Sure.
And I think actually for Mr. Diata, I think if you scroll up to the comments, you'll find on the Facebook chat, you'll find the information. But we're going to repost it. We're going to repost the LTD information as well as if you go to our website, stewandthenunn.com, and you pull up this episode's information, you will find all the information that actually has the information with the acronym T and then the 4 pillars of leadership, his 4 pillars. But no, man, here's the thing. Like when military guys get together and they talk leadership, a lot of times, it's a lot of regurgitation. Maybe there's a different acronym sprinkled in there. Maybe it's a different, vernacular, but for the most part, across the forces, across all rank structures, leadership within the military communities is fairly broadly understood and well understood. But we are such a small aspect of it. And that's why, sometimes, as veterans and, former whatever people, we like look at some things, like Jocko, or you're like, hey, this guy's got this book, this guy's got this, and you're like, and you read it and you're like, well, I learned that as a private. I learned that as an E2. I learned that as an E3. But this isn't for us.
No.
But we need to be reminded of this. Like, you said some things tonight where I was like, man, I'm glad he said that, because I need to adjust that in my life. I need to adjust certain behaviors in my life. And this is one of those things, like I'm a corporate guy now, even though I get to wear flannel, and, like not shave my face and wear the hat of the coolest company on earth. But I'm, blessed to understand and know this and appreciate this stuff where so many others don't. And this is what makes things successful. And leadership, while it happens in the workplace, the most important ministry, if you will, and the most important place for your leadership is at home. And all these attributes, all these characteristics, and all these traits need to be reflected in your home. This is what makes you a better husband. This is what makes you a better father. I know you have a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful girls. This is what makes you. This is the character that makes you as a human. And you got to take these traits and you got to like translate them, and you got to find ways to do it and demonstrate it so that you are that person in the workplace as well as in, like, because your workplace is a reflection of your home. Like I'm looking at my desk right now going like, well, like my desk is a shit show. So like I probably should go home and spend some time with my wife. My desk's a shit show. Like I need to tighten my shot group up at the house. But I love it, man. This is the kind of stuff, like we see it all too often. We pass judgment and we're like, hey, here's just another guy. We got these guys that were Air Force pilots. They were like Top Gun pilots, and now they walk around their little like aviator no-mech suits talking about like how I'm gonna make you the coolest, like that. Let's just get down to nuts and bolts. Like you said, everyone understands keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
Like let's get down to like let's put some basic fundamentals in our life. Let's talk about communication.
Yep.
Let's talk about what I'm saying to you, and let's put some exercises into this, that just show us and demonstrate like how vulnerable we are as human beings. One syllable words, not making it for people.
Yep.
That's pretty.
A little bit of adversity, and here we are. And I love it. I love this stuff. This is the kind of stuff like that I get excited about. But don't think about me writing a book about leadership, because mine was the worst kind.
Yeah, well, you wrote a book, and so you've made that imprint, and but no, I want to.
And I grew hair so I could put product in it.
That's right.
Love it.
Hey, but I do want to talk about, you do have a little bit of a TV film career. I didn't check to see if you got IMDb, but I assume you do. But let our listeners and viewers know a little bit what it was like to work in some of the movies and some of the shows that you've done, maybe even how that happened, and just how that has impacted your life. What has that taught you about maybe stereotypes that you thought you knew, or what the industry was like, or that kind of stuff? How has that impacted?
It's funny because I'm watching us on Facebook and here, so it's like I get to see me twice. It's so awesome. The movie, how I got into it was I was originally asked to do a show. Someone just noticed me because I got a bunch of tats and stuff like that, and I don't know how it happened, but it was called Ultimate Soldier Challenge. Tim Kennedy did it. I did it.
Yeah.
We never competed. Yeah, we actually won it for the Navy SEALs.
He might have beat you.
At the time, I'm a little older than Timmy. I love Timmy.
He was a savage back then.
Yeah. So myself and Rob Roy, who wrote, he's Rob, Rob is, at the time.
I know who he is. Yeah. I don't know him. I know who he is.
He was 50. I was 40. We beat the Spetsnaz. And then when it came down to it, I think what really launched us is we didn't stick with the dive buddy rule. It was, hey, win at all costs. Mac, who died of brain cancer, was the host, and literally, Rob wasn't as fast as me. I ran down, I did a direct action on a house, picked up a 60-pound dummy, and ran the damn thing back up the mountain.
Watch that episode.
Yeah.
I'm now just putting that together. I apologize. I watched that episode.
But it wasn't winning it that made us who we were. It was Rob was behind me coming up, and one of the young contractors who we're still friends with, started having some heat issues. And I got up to the top. I threw up, yelled hoo-yah, grabbed the water. They told me not to go down. I told Mac I was going down, and he could go down and take care of your brother. And that's what I think made us who we were, because it was no longer a TV show. It was, hey, we got.
This was a really important thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was 110, 12 degrees.
Yeah,
it was. I mean, shit was going south real quick. And what I didn't like about that network, and why I had a bad taste in my mouth, is they were more focused on watching what was going to happen to him versus, hey, this guy needs medical treatment. So Rob walked over to him, and I just knew I had to go down there. I had to give him water.
Yeah.
We took his gear and we got him up there, because the thing is, this isn't a Navy SEAL thing. This is a military.
No, this is a human thing.
Yeah, we leave no man behind. After that, a couple other things took off. I was asked to do Captain Phillips. That worked out pretty cool. I actually got a role with Tom. He was a super nice
Max Martini was in that
guy.
film. How
You
about
know,
old Max?
yeah, I talk to Max all the time.
He's like, I love that guy because he's an anomaly. He kind of comes strong with it, and he's a unique character. No, but I want to go back because like you didn't want to say that network's name, but I'll say it because like every now and then people need to realize that just because you think a channel is cool and does cool shows, that you think that they look out for the best interests of those involved. So I remember your episode. In Tim Kennedy's episode, they had almost the same problem. Tim Kennedy's teammate in his episode was a heat casualty as well, a
Yep.
severe heat casualty.
Yes.
And Tim had a very similar thing. Tim, I mean, almost mirror images in terms of episodes. And part of me was like, I remember watching that, going, like, what is going on here? Like, are we like, okay,
Yeah.
one, it doesn't paint anybody in a positive light. And I believe in always trying to paint the military in the most positive light. There's enough other BS going on out there that gives us a bad name. We don't need to like add to it. We don't need to like create television shows to try and like dumb it down because everyone in the world watches the U.S. military. So
Yeah.
like one in the world watches U.S. television. So just like the guys staring across the DMZ at each other in Korea, or just like anybody else trying to seek intel on the United States, if we're on the of the military on television, man, it needs to be a good looking dude. It needs to be a big dude, or like at least a well fit dude, like my man here, like rocking the 5'7" rock hardness. Like
Boom.
got to be a good representation. And when I saw that with back-to-back episodes, because I believe Tim's episode was before yours, and then your episode, I'm trying to think of the chronologically how they aired on TV, but like when I watched the heat casualty thing, I was like, man, we can't be showing like, because Tim's partner, special forces Green Beret 18 series guy, and then and then it's like we cannot be showing our upper echelons in these kind of conditions, and we don't need to be putting them in these conditions because in reality we never would have done that.
Yeah.
We never would put ourselves in a situation that we'd have done that. And if some producer is like, oh no, like let the cameras roll. Like, no, jackass. This isn't like Bear versus whatever, where I'm gonna like jump off a cliff just to get the biggest ratings. No, this was, and so I forgot about that. That's really interesting that you brought that up. I did see in the bio, and I made a mental note because I was like, Tim was on that show, but I forgot all about that. And man, like, good on you, brother. Good on you for doing that. And thanks for going back because they were trying to create drama. And I have my own Discovery Channel story, but they were trying to they were trying to do that drama thing, and you were like, no, I'm better than that. We're better than that, and I like where you're at. And then you got to go do like movies with one of the coolest of all times in terms of like American military movies or television series. Tom Hanks, Captain Phillips.
Oh yeah.
I'm the captain now. Like what an iconic film. What an iconic moment. I mean, we had back-to-back, movies, back-to-back scenarios that led to movies involving naval special warfare, Captain Phillips, and then, Benghazi, with 13 Hours, with former NSW guys. But like, and like, how cool is that? Like, from a little like dehydration to like, here we go, IMDb page. You need to put your picture on your IMDb page. You can do that. You need to do
that.
Yeah, our chat room is hitting you up on that. Like, get your shit updated.
I know I gotta get my shit updated. Because it was fun, but my passion right now is just going around working with people.
Are you still getting? Are you still getting hit up for that? Are you still getting hit up for?
I get hit up for shows a lot, but we did this. Here's the thing. I really like the selection, how we ended with the selection. I like the way it was done. I love the crew that was in there. Bert Koontz, Tyler Gray's one of the producers, and he's running SEAL team now, SEAL Combs, whatever that is. He's He's the most awesome Ranger CAG fake Navy SEAL I've ever met in my life on the show, because he really did the first two. I always wish him happy birthday. Happy birthday. The greatest fake SEAL I know. You know, Marcus Capone, Animal from Dam Neck, and then you had Donnie Bowen, SF Cat, and then we had Sean Haggerty, and the chemistry was there. And we did it right. We went around to the commands and we asked them what we could and what we couldn't do. You know, we took pieces of SEER, but we didn't take all of SEER. You know, there was no physical touching. I don't want to get into I don't want to give any of the information away that happens in SEER. Distances where things happen. Long story short, we got permission. It was done right. It was received well by the communities. There's always a few haters. You know, you can't make everybody happy. I've learned that. And, you know, I'm happy with that. And, you know, I get hit up all the time. Are you going to do another one? Yeah, if the History Channel wants to. And I think the reason why they liked it so much is it's not one of these damn Pawn Stars or, you know, I know Danny Coker from Counting Cars. He's a friend. They're impressive shows. They're impressive. The cars are impressive. The cool shit they bring in is impressive. I want to be, I call it the meteor. I want to be impactful. I like to, you know, I get it every day. Man, you really changed my life with that episode of Integrity. You know, my kids watch this. I went out and got 8x10 glossies to sign for kids. I don't send them to grown men because that would just be weird. But
yeah, so I was kind of like, there's another word for that, but yeah.
You're going to have one in your office, I promise you. But
it's going to be right
there on the calendar. But no, I think it's not my passion. You know, I'm not going to be a movie star. Rogue American Apparel and us might be doing something down the road what we can't talk about right now.
Oh man, I love Wes, man.
I'm supposed to go down and speak. He's having that powerlifting event in April. I think April 11th.
I got a guy in the studio right here with me right now, and we were talking about before we came on the air about doing the event, going down. We're trying to put the team. No, like if you come to that event, I will. Yeah, we'll work out. Bro.
Toby, he'll bring you that signed picture. He'll bring you that signed picture just for you.
I'll sign myself and just give you a face.
Dude, and then I get a selfie of you giving me a selfie, dude. Like that'd be the money shot.
Well, next time you see Wes, ask him who won the Danny Dietz challenge because I was Danny Dietz's sea daddy. So a young Marine decided to try me. 24 years old. God bless him. He tried. But you better pack a lunch. You want to beat me at something that has that much meaning to me.
Ooh, I love it, man. And you mentioned Danny Dietz. I know you're active in his memorial fund. Thank you for, putting not just your mouth, but your money and your time into bettering the community and helping things. So thank you for that. I think if I can get Rob, the unpaid producer, to maybe like put a link to that foundation. I think I saw one earlier, but thanks for bringing that up. Troy, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. Hey, I just wanted to, real quick, Ray, we've had you on for a little over an hour already, and I want to be respectful of your time and everybody's, but, we covered a lot of topics tonight. We had a lot of things to go over with you. I'm thinking we probably educated a lot of people on parts of how the SEAL teams work, on the LTD, and how you've taken all that training and stuff and things you've learned and shaped over your time in the military into the civilian world. But is there anything with all the stuff you're involved in, is there anything we didn't hit on before we let you go? Anything you want to let our listeners and viewers know about any drive, foundation, or any topic that's just near and dear to your heart you want to make sure that people are aware of before we let you go for the night?
No, I mean, and again, I'm not a salesman. I think the only other thing I tell people is, if you're having doubt, I have a website that you can go to. It's I'll just use the frogmindset.com, and I own a company called Conquer. And I tell people, if you're going to purchase any of the stuff that we have, that we have, the shirts, the hats, the coins, do it because you believe that you can conquer. I use it as I do a lot of self-reflection, and the one thing I don't know about, get the shirt if you believe in it, conquer 7 points to master you. And I think if we're going to get off, the one best piece of advice I can give anybody, and I'm going to give it to you for free here on here, is it's a self-reflection drill, and it takes about 2 minutes, and you can do it. So everybody has a camera. Take a picture of yourself right now, whatever the hell it is you're doing, and then write down family, fitness, finance, and faith. And I want you to grade yourself on that right now. As if, I'm looking at two men here. One's married. I see his wedding ring. Grade yourself as family. Are you a good father? Are you a good husband? Are you a good brother? Are you a good son? I mean, expand on every avenue and give yourself the most honest grade. I don't mean A, B, C, D, E. I mean like, hey, I'm an 82.6. I mean, I don't care. And do that. And what I tell people is, and I want to make this very clear, that I don't believe in this 6-week, 12-week, 6-month bullshit challenge. I don't. It's a life challenge. Every 3 months, you take that picture again and you reevaluate yourself and you make corrections. As long as you're moving the needle in the right direction to success, as long as you're, I don't believe there's no such thing as perfection, but there is progression. You have to move, right? You have to have purpose over pleasure. People these days are too worried about the glory, and they're not willing to roll up their sleeves and put in the work. Case in point, divorce rates at the all-time highest. It pisses me off.
80%.
I'm married. My wife, Hell Week is a joke compared to my wife when she's pissed off at me. A joke. But you know what?
Ooh.
I won't quit. And I even tell people, fail fast, like Mark Divine, constantly fail. Learn from your failures and move on.
Yeah.
That's the best piece of advice I think I'd want to end with, because it's not going to come easy, it's not going to come cheap, and it's not going to come quick. That's what I can guarantee you. I'm 48, still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can add in, I like the selfie and the 4-factor in judging. I want to add in one thing. If you take that selfie, Toby, with a duck face, you lose 20 points across all 4. I'm just telling you right now.
It was a smile. I took it with a smile.
No, in your next one, because you got to keep taking them. You can't do one with the duck face. You lose points. So don't do that. So you
Show me it. Show me the duck. Come on, show me the duck.
Come on, Toby. Show me the Canadian duck.
I got no duck.
No, it's a goose.
I'm the talent. You have to make me happy.
Hey, it's a goose. It's Canadian goose face. That's
Good
it.
enough.
It's Canadian goose face. Like Canadian. That's more like. Like I don't know.
Love it.
All right.
I'm not good. I'm not good at the selfie. That's why I feel awkward. That's why I made like a funny face.
Yeah. So I got one more question I wanted to get in the beginning, and I just remembered I haven't asked, and I want to ask this before we let you go. What does the nickname Cash come from?
So
are you the money man?
No, I wish. My original call sign was Care Bear because my last name's Care. When I started doing some overseas work, they asked me what my call sign was, and I said Care Bear. And they were like, somebody already has that. And I was like, shit.
What? You're like, I want to meet that guy right now.
So a couple of the guys said, hey, we're going to call you Cash. And I had no clue as to why. Sorry, my phone's dying. And come to find out, I had a Cash shirt on. I didn't even realize it because I'm a big Johnny Cash fan, pre-Joaquin Phoenix. And it just stuck. I just lived a hard life and just trying to do good.
Well, that's a good reason. It'd be better
cool.
It'd be better than if you had like a Tango and Cash shirt on. That'd be a little bit more. But
anything's possible.
But Johnny Cash, that's classic. Yeah.
See, like you can't. You actually have to like. I was like laughing earlier because I was like, "There's another Care Bear out there," because like that's like 2 boys named Sue, like in the SEALs. Oh, yeah. So I was like, "You gotta like." You got to meet that dude, and then you're like, because it was Johnny, you're like, I had to dial that all back, because then it was like respect. Respect.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much, Ray. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for coming on, and I'm glad Rob, our unpaid producer, found you. Keep up with us, man. Stay in touch, and let us know. It's obviously you are not slowing down, dude. You got the pedal on the metal, and you are crushing it, and obviously you're going to keep on doing great things, and as you do, and as you keep giving back to the communities and educating folks, we'd love to stay in touch with you and keep up with you.
Please do. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm serious, guys. Great interview. I loved it.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you in Austin, my man.
All right, sir. Hopefully I'll see you. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. All right. Okay, let's see if we can do our transition here, Toby. I'm gonna. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
let's see how Bush League we can make it.
Okay, there we go. Look at that. Let's see. He is out, and look at that. Boy, I transitioned right over.
Yeah, boom.
He called
Bada
it quits.
boom,
I was
bada
trying to go
bing.
to do the disconnect, but he was able to do it, and it dropped right over. All right, good. That worked a lot better than last week when I hung up on you.
Yeah,
So
we'll
awesome.
figure it out. Figure it out.
Rob, good job. What a great guest. The dude is super motivating. I mean, he's almost like,
I love it.
I mean, Bellavia level. I was ready to go sign up and be a Navy SEAL, man. I don't know if I want to ride a little submarine around, but I mean, if they got Xbox in the back, I think he said they had games in the back. If they got Xbox or Minecraft, that'd be, or Frogger even. I could maybe sign up for that. But you think they got Frogger? You think they got Scuba Steve back there? You got a little Scuba Steve thrown around? I don't know. But
That all kidding aside, like that is a level of mental savagery
that's like tunnel.
that
That's
I
like,
don't know.
That's like
I don't know if
tunnel
I
rats.
possess that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, no, like I actually think that's a little more.
yeah.
And
I mean,
so like I have a tremendous level of respect. And when I saw that, I was like, you rarely get to talk to these guys.
yeah.
Like you rarely get that insight. And so what a blessing tonight to be able to like, learn a little bit and just talk to somebody. And when he comes out to Austin, if he comes to Wes's event at Rogue American for the vet gym there, I'm gonna just sit down and probably pick his brain some more, because that stuff to me is super cool. I love learning about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was
And I love having a sense of humor, like,
yeah.
and he's shrugged off some pretty hard things in life, and that's why he's successful, and that's where he's at. And I got to tell you, for a guy that's knocking on the door of 50, that dude looks friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
I like motivates me to like, I only did 2 workouts. Sorry, I only did 1 workout today. I played hockey late last night, so I kind of count that as half a workout for today, since it was the late game. So theoretically, technically, it might have been within the hours of today. But I love seeing that stuff. I love hearing that, and it's always cool to hear the same message delivered in a very receivable way. And that's the thing. It's about communication, and it's about being able to send it and have someone receive it.
Yeah.
But before we get going tonight, a couple of things, like a week, huh?
Yeah.
Like some ups, some downs, like some interesting press conferences. We've had everything from the impeachment of the president of the United States going on, to Kobe Bryant, and 8 other people getting killed in a helicopter crash. And I apologize for not knowing their names, but like we had a guy die overseas on the DoD side. And so, like, man, it's been a week. Since last Thursday.
Right.
It's been a week.
Not just I mean, he had a vehicle rollover in a combat zone, and that happens, and it's you deployed, but accidents happen, and no matter what we do, and young specialist who was really lauded by his unit and stuff like that, and really praised. Right, the impeachment thing, does grab a lot of news, and we could go into that, for a while. But I want to hit on something, Toby, that's kind of near and dear to my, almost like a bald man rant here. But
let's go.
And it has to do with Kobe Bryant. And I
Come
think
on.
if anyone just heard me say that, they probably think they know where I'm going with this, and I doubt you do.
I know exactly where you're going with this, because we're brothers.
You probably do. We're brothers. We know each other things. There was depending on where you saw, right, and I've been guilty to some degree of this in the past years ago, under different circumstances. But this week we had, Kobe Bryant and 8 others, and his daughter, and 7 others were killed total, right, and including the pilot. And obviously the not only the sports world, it all happened on Sunday. Not only sports world was rocked, right, the whole world was rocked. Other countries were rocked, and entertainers and all that kind of stuff. And then you had a group of people, some of them are friends of ours and so on and so forth, immediately jump on the, where I'm going, right? Immediately jump on.
Let's go. I'm glad you're bringing it up. I'm gonna back you up.
Some people put up pictures of a helicopter crash that happened a number of years ago, that a whole bunch of
2000.
Yeah,
to be
2005,
specific.
right? Thank you. We're a whole bunch of soldiers, or say, I think it was Marines and
Marines
sailors.
and one Navy.
Yeah, got killed. And people were like, what about these guys? And actually, when I first saw that, I mean, we talked about this last week, I think, right? The old clickbait and bring up the, repost the stuff. And I saw that and I was like, what? 30 Dooges? And I clicked, and I'm like, oh, that's from 2005. And then I started realizing people are like, doing up the whole, hey, don't forget about the soldiers, this and that. And, it's not about a basketball player and all that. And, maybe I'm getting older. Maybe maybe I'm changing a perspective. But it's kind of like, just because, yeah, it's terrible when soldiers die. Soldiers who, and I say soldiers, all encompassing of all service members, that raise their hand knowing what they're getting into and that go down that path. And it's terrible that it happens. And you know what? To their families, they don't need a worldwide recognition because it only matters to them and their loved ones, which already has a wide breadth. People don't realize it. There's a lot of people affected every time a service member falls. Just like anytime anyone dies in a family, friends, coworkers, so on and so forth. Right? They don't need to have they don't need the whole world to come out and say, say all kind of things and all that stuff. But when you have somebody like Kobe Bryant, and granted, he's human, he's made mistakes in the past, he's been accused of things, so on and so forth. But, I learned a lot about the guy this week. Speaks 4 languages, right? He took communion that morning, went to church, right? Was focused on his family. The reason he took helicopters was because he wanted to not sit in traffic all the time, to be with his family, right? And he was an accomplished athlete and motivated a lot of people. Was an idol, was a guide to, was I guess an idol to a lot of folks. People looked up to him, is the word I'm trying to use. Young athletes, he motivated folks to do stuff. So yeah, it's a big deal that he died at a young age of 41, and he died in just a freak accident. It happens. People die in accidents all the time. We get it. But, even though some people will say, well, he was just an athlete, he's no more important than a soldier or a sailor or anyone else. True, life is a life, right? And to your family and loved ones, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what you do as a career. He did have an impact far more reaching than most soldiers, sailors, Navy, Air Force,
Yes,
right?
Right? We go. All right.
Right? Toby and you and I have had friends.
This is why you're my brother, right here. Come on.
You and I have had friends that have been killed in combat. We've had friends that have killed by accidents. We've had people we know and friends that have been killed by their own hands or been murdered by the others' hands in murder, right? And it has impacted us, and we have cried our tears, and we toast every once in a while to them, and we never forget them, right? Just like a lot of people had people lost on 9/11, and it had a far-reaching effect, and many terrible things since then, right? But the ripples from those people have only went so far. Somebody like a Kobe Bryant, who was a positive influence to a lot of people, went around the globe. So to say, well, he's just a basketball player, he really is not any more important than a soldier. No, his life isn't any more important because we're all children of God, and all of us are equally important. But you cannot say he didn't have more of an impact. You can't say he didn't have an impact more than any service member. He did. I don't care who the service member is. He had more of an impact than anyone that ever served, anyone that was a cop, anyone that was clergy, anyone that was a political leader. He had much more impact than any of those. And not that he was perfect, and not that he lived a flawless life, but he whatever he did, his sins are between him and the Lord, and whatever he did and people that he hurt or offended, just like all of us hurt or offend people, he still went on and led what looks like to be a pretty positive life. Not a shithead life, not drugs, drinking, and women and all that kind of stuff, but led a positive life, possibly repented, it looks like, and focused on his family and did great things.
Oh, yeah. So, like,
my rant is now paused. I give back to the court.
Tag team back again. Shake it, directed. Let's begin. Party on, party people. Here goes Toby. All right. So I love where you're going with this. I absolutely love it because now John Kaiser, my brother from another, also in the chat room, and he's got a point. Like, yes, the soldier serves so that we live in a country that can be so blessed that people can be paid millions, I dare say hundreds of millions of dollars to play sports. It is the most asinine and ridiculous system known to man that people can make this kind of money for recreation. Like, I don't understand it, but here's the thing. I'm not mad at it because my dream, while it is not to be a professional athlete, My dream is to be very successful and to be able to provide better for my family than I am currently doing today. I'm not doing a very good job of it today, and I want to do better. So, like, this is what you do. You live in a country where you're able to do that, and America is the place that you can do that. And yes, the reason America is able to do that is because some people served. But here is where I'm going to offend some people. When you get mad because you don't like that Kobe Bryant is getting a lot more attention than the service member that also passed away, you are saying a lot more about your character than you're saying about his. Now, granted, back in the day when that guy wore the old number 8, I believe it was, and he was out and he like did that thing where he got in some trouble, and I am not condoning what he did. If anyone knows me, they know that violence to a woman or any young girl is not tolerated and is not acceptable in my world. And if you're in my immediate vicinity while that happens, well, God protect you, because I will not be on God's side on that day. I'll be acting with the devil and I will be bringing hate and violence into your world. But he did repent, and he was a tremendous advocate for the veteran community and donated a shit ton of money to the veteran community. But more importantly than any of that, you know how many kids are out on streets bouncing little orange balls with black lacing on them, wearing his jersey, aspiring to be more than they are at that moment in time. Just like the great 99 Wayne Gretzky, I donned that fake replica jersey as a kid, and I wanted to be something more than a little kid in a bush village in the middle of mountains way up next to Alaska. That inspiration to be something other than what you are and to be better than that moment in time that you are, to aspire. Here is a guy that made it from high school directly to professional sports. God gave him a gift, God gave him a talent. And while he did use it to the best of his ability early in his career, near the end of his career, he did some tremendous things. And that guy wasn't sitting next to a prostitute and then getting into a limo and snorting coke off that stripper's ass. He was taking his little daughter and her teammates to a game, enriching their lives by giving them a moment in time, a benefit. And that's why hashtag girl dad is going on right now. It's not hashtag RIP Kobe. The trending hashtag right now is hashtag girl dad, because like, here's the guy that his last moment in life, and I imagine that was not a very good last moment, is looking at his daughter and trying to figure out a way to like comfort her, console her, grab her, something, because they knew something was going horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And when people get mad about this stuff, I'll never forget, and I'm going to share a quick little story. I can't remember the exact date or day, but I got a phone call. I know where I was when I got the phone call. I was in the Shreveport airport, Shreveport, Louisiana, at baggage. My phone went off and I answered the phone, and a guy starts yelling at me on the phone, and he is wire brushing me. And while investigating and trying to figure out who this guy was and why he was yelling at me and why he was using the language to me that he was using, I discovered that he was the grieving father of a soldier that had been killed in combat. And he was angry and he was hurt and he was in despair because no one will know his son's name, because his son was killed in action the same day that Michael Jackson died. And everyone in the world was mourning the death of what is possibly like the greatest pedophile of our time. Definitely the most famous, here's, a level of depravity that, we are unfamiliar with.
Right.
And this guy, and I felt for him, but there's no words to change that. There's no action that can change that. And because I feel a certain way about a person doesn't mean that I can change that about other people. But what you have to do is you have to remember that when you start going off and like this whole like knucklehead thing of like spreading that video or that news message about the aircraft that crashed in 2005, like that, you're not even taking the time to process this, and like you're saying more about your character than you're ever saying about Kobe Bryant's. You need to get over yourself and remember that while you served this country and you did something good for it, you were dishonoring that service by being a little bitch about not getting the attention that you feel you deserve. Be better than that. Be a better husband, be a better father, be a better brother. Don't make someone else's death about you. And no matter what the circumstances, be a better human being.
Yeah,
You know, like
I
people die every day of tragic, of peaceful, of violent, of medical, of all different things. Don't make it about you. Give them honesty, give them a moment, give them legacy. But remember, when you like start getting on your like soapbox and the pitchfork comes out and you're like outrage culture, you're saying a lot more about your character than you're saying about Kobe Bryant's.
Yeah, it's you know, because the reality is those other, you know, it's like the other people that were in the helicopter. To them, okay, yeah, they were in a helicopter with Kobe. They're not remembering that day because he died. They're remembering that day because the one they cared, the one, their rock star, their big person, their biggest person in their life died that day. The husband of the lady who was the lady that was the coach of the team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw the interview with her husband. He's not talking. He's talking about, you know, his wife and the impact she had and how awesome she was to him that day. Sunday is going to be all about her, right? And the other people that died in that helicopter, or the other people that die in a plane crash or in a car crash, whatever, it's going to be about them, regardless of who else passed away. But guess what? The rest of the world doesn't know your individual person, right? But they do know someone else. And when the person's a good character, what it appears, you know, you mentioned Michael Jackson. You know, like I said, probably the most famous pedophile there was, or any other person. If people have, you know, a pretty tarnished character of you, or you judge that they are not a respectful person, then obviously that's not going to mean a big deal to you. But if they didn't, you know, if they were someone that contributed greatly to this world's culture or science or whatever, and they died on the same one as your loved one, obviously the world's gonna know that, and it's gonna be the day. And when you look back in Wikipedia and say what happened on this day, and it's gonna say 3 years ago, you know, this person died, not your person died, the person that the world knows. There's no reason to be upset about, and there's absolutely no reason to be jealous about it or anything else, right? Because those that are close to the service member that dies or family member that dies, they don't care what everyone else thinks. They're not looking for accolades and world tweets about their loved one, because that would be kind of weird. No one knows them, right? So yeah, I'm glad. I shouldn't be surprised at all that I knew we would probably think the same way, but it has been something, dude, that's been kind of, as I've watched this unfold since Sunday, it just, the more I saw it, the more my Facebook wall went by, or I saw tweets or whatever, it just kind of dug at me more and more. And I was like, I gotta hit on this on Thursday night. Like, I wanted to definitely hit on this topic.
No, you and I knew exactly where you're going, because, you know, while we differ on other things, like one thing that we don't differ on is the value of our heart and where our hearts are. And you know, like, it's not your place, it's not my place to judge another man's action or characters. That's our Lord and Savior's job. And long before the court of popular opinion, you know, got in session down here on earth to decide whether or not that guy was a good dude or not, that decision had already been made and his fate had already been sealed, and we have no part of that. Like that, and you know, like, I don't need to be worried about the soul of anybody else other than myself, and you know, the influence that I can have in my immediate circle, primarily my family.
Right.
And you know, like, we need to let God do the judging, and we need to do the less sinning and the better living. And you know, and like, remember that when we start attacking another person's character after they pass away, it says a lot more about us than it does about them. So
yeah, absolutely. But all right, well, with that, you know, obviously there's gonna be some big things happening in DC probably tomorrow. The next day, we're gonna be probably past all this impeachment stuff next week. Man, we're lining up a great guest for next Thursday. Let me just tell you that. And I got a word from him tonight. It looks like he is locked in. We'll announce that in a few days. It is going to be gangbusters. I mean, you better be able to jump on the show quick, because I think our numbers are going to be blowing the roof off.
yeah,
so
I'm excited. And I'm also excited. Like if the facts don't fit, you must have quit.
Yeah, and
I'm building my memes right now.
You know what I'm more excited about is once this happens and we know this is all over, and I don't think this is their last shot. What he's gonna do and say next week is gonna be. I can't even imagine. I can't even. I can't. I can't imagine.
I just see all these memes. I just see them coming.
Yeah,
it's gonna be amazing.
But
it's gonna be
all right, man.
A landslide of memes.
Well, we've been going for about an hour and a half. We want to thank everyone for joining us on this episode 190, and make sure if you're out and about, try to stay away from China. China. Don't. We suggest not go there. If you're gonna drink Corona, make sure you wipe the top first and put a lime in there.
Always use the lime.
Always use the lime. And, be careful out there. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth. Don't hang out with anyone that just came back from China. And pray for those that are affected and those that are unfortunately dying. We obviously, hopefully, we hope everyone contains this thing and it does not turn into like the next Black Plague. But when it's all said and done, as long as you're good with God and your heart's good with Him, then it is what it is, and see where it goes. But thank you. Be sure you join us next week. It'll be our first episode of February 2020, and we will be, like I say, lining up a great guest next February 6th next week, 8:00 here on Stu and the Nunn. Toby, you got anything else before we say goodnight?
Oh, that's it. Word. Let's roll.
There we go. And John Kaiser, I think Corona Light is safe. I think you're okay with that one, but you still want to make sure you sterilize that. Don't just don't drink it there. So, all right, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, PoohHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.